Ladies and gentlemen, your life is not shaped by luck, it's shaped by habits, quiet, invisible routines that decide whether you rise or remain the same. Every dream you've ever had, every goal you've ever whispered to yourself in the dark, depends on what you do when no one's watching. 3 simple habits have the power to rebuild your mind, reshape your days, and completely transform your destiny. And once you master them, life will never look the same again. There's a simple truth about success that most people overlook. It is never sudden. It is never accidental. It is always the result of quiet, consistent habits that shape the way we think, the way we act, and the way we respond to life. Every great achievement, every fulfilled dream, begins not with a dramatic moment of inspiration, but with the small, invisible routines that quietly build the foundation of greatness. Today, I want to share with you 3 habits that, once deeply rooted, can transform the entire course of your life. The first is the habit of purpose-directed thinking. You see, most people drift through life like ships without a compass, moved by the winds of circumstance rather than by the direction of intention. They wake up each day reacting to their environment, their job, their finances, their emotions, without ever asking, "Where am I going?" But the rare few who rise above the crowd understand something profound. Life bends toward clarity. When you decide what you truly want and begin to think deliberately about it, every thought becomes a tool of creation rather than confusion. Sit quietly and think about your purpose, not the vague kind of thinking that comes and goes with emotion, but the kind that is disciplined, persistent, and practical. Ask yourself what kind of person you wish to become, what contribution you wish to make, what results you wish to see. Then begin to think every day in harmony with that vision. It is astonishing how fast the world begins to rearrange itself for the person who knows what he wants. Ideas begin to appear. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly stand in plain sight. People who once ignored you begin to take notice. This is not magic. It is the natural consequence of direction. A mind that knows its purpose starts to filter life differently. It sees what aligns and discards what does not. And so, the first habit is to think on purpose. Think with intention. Do not allow your mind to become a storage room for random thoughts or fears. Instead, train it to become a workshop where your greatest life is designed piece by piece in thought before it appears in reality. The second habit that transforms life is the habit of disciplined action. Thought without action is like a seed left unplanted. It contains potential, but it bears no fruit. The world rewards only those who take their ideas and translate them into motion. Most people, when they think of discipline, imagine it as something harsh or unpleasant. But discipline is simply remembering what you want. It is the daily practice of aligning your behavior with your highest intentions. You will never feel ready to start. That moment of perfect motivation, that perfect set of circumstances, it doesn't exist. If you wait for it, you'll wait forever. But when you develop the habit of acting despite hesitation, something remarkable happens. Your confidence begins to grow. Action feeds faith. Every time you take a small, deliberate step forward, no matter how insignificant it seems, you are strengthening the muscle of self-trust. The disciplined person does not depend on feelings to decide what must be done. They depend on commitment. They rise early when they'd rather sleep. They study when others are distracted. They save when others spend. It's not the such that they are more talented. It's that they are more consistent, and consistency is a quiet force. It compounds in the background, invisible at first, but unstoppable over time. The truth is, discipline is not about self-denial. It's about self-respect. When you say you will do something and you follow through, you are proving to yourself that your word means something. You begin to view yourself differently, not as a victim of circumstance, but as the architect of your destiny. You realize that every act of discipline today buys you freedom tomorrow. The freedom to live life on your terms, the freedom to pursue your purpose without apology. So act. Act now. Don't wait for the perfect plan or the ideal condition. Action, even imperfect action, beats hesitation every single time. For it is through action that we refine our path, discover our strength, and transform our intentions into tangible results. The third habit that transforms life is the habit of gratitude and growth-oriented reflection. It is impossible to become truly successful without becoming deeply aware of how far you've come, of what you've learned, and of the opportunities hidden even within your challenges. Most people spend their mental energy focusing on what's missing, what's unfair, or what they fear. They feed their minds with worry, resentment, and doubt, and then wonder why life feels heavy and unrewarding. But those who practice gratitude train their minds to notice abundance, to see lessons where others see losses, and to grow even through adversity. Each evening, take a few quiet moments to look back on your day. Ask yourself what went well, what could be improved, and what you're thankful for. This single practice will do more to elevate your mood, sharpen your thinking, and deepen your fulfillment than almost anything else. Because it turns your focus inward, where true power resides. It reminds you that progress is not just about achieving more, it's about becoming more. Gratitude shifts your perception from scarcity to sufficiency. It reminds you that fee in all its complexity is a gift to be used, not a burden to be endured. When you begin to look for the good, you attract more of it. When you express appreciation for what you have, you open the door for more to flow into your life. And when you reflect honestly on your actions, you begin to understand the patterns that either propel you forward or hold you back. Combined, these three habits, purposeful thinking, disciplined action, and gratitude-infused reflection, form a powerful foundation upon which any great life can be built. They are not difficult to understand, but they require consistency to master. The world we live in often rewards noise over depth, distraction over focus, and speed over substance. But these habits return you to the timeless truth. Success is the natural result of becoming the kind of person capable of achieving it. You do not need to chase success. You need to become someone success cannot ignore. And that transformation begins quietly in the way you think, act, and reflect each day. Imagine a person who starts each morning with a clear intention, a vision so strong that it shapes every decision they make. Imagine that same person committing day after day to disciplined action, even when enthusiasm fades. Then imagine them ending each evening not in frustration, but in reflection and gratitude. That person over time will move mountains, because habits once formed do not merely influence your days, they define your destiny. Everything changes when you realize that you have the power to direct your own mind, to govern your own actions, and to master your own attitude. You no longer drift, you decide. You no longer wish, you work. And you no longer complain, you create. The difference between those who merely exist and those who truly live is not luck, intelligence, or opportunity. It is the quiet decision to build habits that align with purpose, discipline, and gratitude. These habits are not loud, but they are lasting. They do not bring instant rewards, but they build enduring results. And those who live by them soon discover that transformation does not happen to you. It happens through you. For the person you become in the process of forming these habits is far greater than anything you could ever achieve. And when these habits begin to take root, something remarkable happens within you. You begin to feel an inner stability, a quiet strength that doesn't depend on outside circumstances. You stop being tossed around by every difficulty, every delay, every disappointment. Instead, you become anchored in purpose. You understand that life will test you, but those tests are not meant to break you. They are meant to build you. You start seeing obstacles not as roadblocks, but as raw materials for growth. And as your mind, actions, and attitude begin to align, you notice that your entire reality starts to shift. The individual who once doubted himself begins to move with confidence. The person who once hesitated begins to act with certainty. The one who once waited for motivation begins to generate it from within. Because true power never comes from what you have. It comes from who you are becoming. And every small decision, every daily discipline, every moment of gratitude chisels away at the old self, revealing the stronger, wiser version waiting underneath. You begin to understand that success is not something to chase. It's something to attract by the person you become. The world does not give you what you wish for. It gives you what you are prepared for. So, as you think with purpose, act with discipline, and reflect with gratitude, you are quietly preparing yourself for opportunities most people aren't even ready to recognize. You're building the foundation that will support every dream you dare to pursue. Think of it like this. A tree does not grow strong during calm weather. It grows strong because of the storms. The winds that try to shake it are the same forces that deepen its roots. Life works the same way. The challenges you face are not random. They are refining you, conditioning you for greater things. When you adopt these habits, you stop resisting the storms and start using them to grow. You see, you cannot control the direction of the wind, but you can adjust your sails. And when your habits are anchored in purpose, discipline, and gratitude, no storm can derail you. Each day becomes an opportunity to practice mastery in small things. Most people wait for some grand moment to prove themselves, a promotion, a breakthrough, a lucky break. But life rewards the person who treats every moment as a chance to improve. Excellence is never an act of chance. It is a habit formed through ordinary days. It's in the way you greet the morning, the way you treat others, the way you manage your thoughts when no one is watching. The smallest details of your life are shaping your destiny more than any big decision ever will. When you start to think on purpose, you'll notice how your mental environment changes. You stop entertaining thoughts of doubt and failure. You stop allowing your imagination to run wild with fear. Instead, you train your mind to dwell on possibility, on progress, on potential. The quality of your life will always reflect the quality of your thoughts. A cluttered mind cannot create a clear life. So take charge of what occupies your attention. Guard your mind as carefully as a gardener guards his field, for whatever you plant will grow. Plant ideas of faith, of success, of contribution, and your life will inevitably begin to mirror those thoughts. Then, when you combine thought with disciplined action, the results become unstoppable. You realize that every day is a brick in the structure of your destiny. Some days the work feels slow, almost invisible. But that's the point. The magic lies in the AC. Accumulation. Brick by brick, effort by effort, you are building something that cannot be seen until it is complete. And by the time the world notices, the foundation has already been laid in silence, long before the applause. It's easy to underestimate the power of consistency, yet it's the quietest workers who build the strongest empires. Think of the river carving through rock, not by force, but by persistence. That's what disciplined action does. It wears down resistance. It reshapes your reality not in a day, but over days, weeks, and years of steady effort. And as you move forward, gratitude becomes your compass. It keeps your heart centered while your mind pursues more. Gratitude reminds you that abundance is not something to wait for. It's something to notice right now. Every breath, every opportunity, every lesson is a gift. When you see life this way, frustration turns into faith. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Try me." Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to learning, from scarcity to strength. Each night, as you reflect, you begin to see patterns, the way small wins connect, the way setbacks shape your character. You start to understand that nothing in your journey is wasted. Even the mistakes, even the failures have been quietly working in your favor. Because life is not punishing you, it's preparing you. Every challenge is an invitation to rise a little higher, to think a little deeper, to act a little bolder. And soon your very presence begins to change. People can sense it, not because you speak louder, but because your energy carries certainty. There's a calm power in someone who knows where they're going, who acts in harmony with their goals, and who is grateful for every step of the journey. That's what these habits do. They make you magnetic. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop trying to prove your worth and start living it. There will still be days when the weight feels heavy, when the vision feels far, when the effort feels endless. But that's exactly when your habits prove their worth. Because habits, once formed, do not rely on mood. They rely on structure. They carry you forward when motivation fades. They remind you of your purpose when doubt whispers. They hold you upright when the world tries to bend you. That's the quiet strength of someone who has built their life on principles instead of impulses. And what begins to happen next is extraordinary. The world, almost as if by invisible law, starts to respond differently to you. People begin to offer help. Doors you didn't even know existed begin to open. Situations that once confused you start to make sense. And you realize that success is not a single event. It's a vibration, a frequency that you rise into by the way you think, act, and feel. The more consistent your habits, the higher your vibration. The higher your vibration, the greater your influence. Opportunities come to those who are ready for them, not those who merely wish for them. That's why these habits are powerful. They prepare you for the unseen. They shape your character long before the results appear. The person who succeeds tomorrow is simply the one who practiced better habits today. So never underestimate the quiet power of showing up, thinking clearly, acting consistently, and remaining thankful. Those simple disciplines are what separate the dreamers from the doers, and the ordinary from the extraordinary. You begin to discover that real success is not measured in possessions or titles, but in peace of mind. To wake up knowing your life is aligned with your purpose, to move through your day with discipline and integrity, and to end each evening with gratitude and calm, that is true wealth. Because when you master yourself, the world follows naturally. You no longer rush, you no longer compare, you no longer feel the need to prove anything to anyone. You realize that growth itself is the reward, that progress is the joy, and that the journey was the goal all along. These habits strip away the unnecessary noise and bring you back to what matters, becoming your best self, one deliberate day at a time. And as the days turn into months and the months into years, you'll look back and see that your life has transformed, not through luck or chance, but through design. The very same person who once struggled to stay consistent will now be unshakable. The one who once doubted will now inspire others, because transformation is never about doing more, it's about becoming more. Each thought you choose, each action you take, each moment of gratitude you practice is a vote for the person you wish to become. And those votes, cast day after day, are what create the masterpiece of your life. The habits you form today are the architects of your tomorrow. The future does not appear by accident, it is built consciously from the materials of your daily choices. So continue to think with clarity, act with discipline, and live with gratitude. Continue to walk the path with steady faith, for even when results seem distant, every step is shaping something magnificent within you. Life will meet you at the level of your habits, and when your habits rise, your life cannot help but rise with them. And as you continue along this path, something subtle yet powerful begins to happen. You start to sense that life itself is cooperating with you. The resistance that once felt overwhelming begins to dissolve. The noise that once distracted you grows faint. The confusion that clouded your mind begins to clear. Because as your habits solidify, they align you with the rhythm of progress. You begin to live by design rather than by default. The difference is profound. One life is reactive, always responding to circumstance. The other is creative, always shaping circumstance into opportunity. You start to notice the difference between motion and progress. Many people are in motion every day, busy, rushing, multitasking, but they are not moving forward. And their energy is scattered, their focus divided, and their results inconsistent. But when you live through purposeful thought, disciplined action, and grateful reflection, your motion becomes progress. You stop spinning your wheels and start gaining traction. Every effort builds upon the last. Every day connects meaningfully to the next. You are no longer living in circles. You are ascending in a steady spiral toward mastery. It's fascinating how life changes not when you try to control it, but when you begin to control yourself. You realize that most people are not defeated by lack of opportunity, but by lack of direction. They wish for better conditions without improving their own habits. But the person who transforms from within no longer waits for better weather. They learn to sail skillfully in any condition. This is the quiet power of self-leadership. The outer world bends to the will of the inner world. When you govern your thoughts, your emotions, and your daily disciplines, you rise above the average current of life and begin to move on your own course. Your days start to carry a new sense of meaning. You wake with intent. You move with purpose. Even simple actions, a morning walk, a few pages of study, a quiet moment of reflection, become sacred acts of progress. You begin to feel connected to something larger than yourself, a sense that your life is part of a greater design. And this awareness gives birth to peace, the kind of peace that cannot be shaken by external noise. You stop chasing happiness and start cultivating it from within. One of the greatest transformations you will experience is the shift from urgency to patience. In a world that glorifies speed, you learn to honor consistency. You come to understand that true success moves in seasons. There are seasons of sowing, seasons of growing, and seasons of harvest. Those who fail often do so because as they quit during the growing season, they cannot see the invisible progress beneath the surface. But when you trust the process, when you remain faithful to your habits, you begin to sense that every moment of effort, every ounce of discipline is quietly compounding. The results may be invisible for a while, but they are inevitable. The person who plants a tree does not dig up the soil every day to check if the roots are growing. He waters it, nurtures it, and trusts the laws of nature. The same principle applies to your life. Once you commit to the right habits, your only responsibility is to keep nurturing them. The growth will happen naturally, often silently, but always surely. The universe rewards persistence. It may test your resolve, it may delay your outcomes, but it never denies consistent effort. And while others grow restless, chasing the next distraction or giving up too soon, you'll stand firm. Because patience built through discipline is unshakable. You'll no longer need to rush, because you'll realize that everything meaningful takes time. Greatness is not achieved through bursts of energy. It's built through the slow, steady rhythm of sustained excellence. The same river that cuts through mountains does not do so through force, but through consistency. Over time, you begin to see that transformation is not just about achieving goals, it's about evolving your identity. Every habit reshapes the way you see yourself. When you think with clarity, you start to believe you are capable of greatness. When you act with discipline, you prove to yourself that you are dependable. When you live with gratitude, you realize you already have everything you need to begin. These realizations form the bedrock of lasting confidence. Confidence that does not come from applause or validation, but from knowing that you have earned your own respect. Your confidence will become quiet and your strength unspoken. You won't need to declare your ambition or convince anyone of your potential. It will show in your consistency, in your presence, in the calm certainty with which you move. People will begin to sense something different about you, a steadiness that cannot be faked. They will see that while most drift aimlessly, you are guided by intention, and without saying a word, you will inspire others to seek the same clarity in their own lives. As you move forward, challenges will still arise. No life is free from them. But now you'll face them differently. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you'll ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" That simple shift transforms frustration into focus. Every setback becomes a classroom. Every failure becomes feedback. You no longer see difficulty as a punishment, but as preparation for your next level of growth. And because your mind is trained to look for meaning, you find strength even in struggle. The habit of reflection plays a powerful role here. When you pause to review your experiences, you extract wisdom from them. Most people rush from one event to another, never taking time to learn from what just happened. But reflection slows you down long enough to grow. It's the bridge between experience and improvement. Without reflection, you repeat your mistakes. With it, you refine your methods. And as you refine, your progress accelerates, not because you're working harder, but because you're working smarter. Through this process, you begin to experience a quiet alignment between your inner world and your outer world. The noise of self-doubt fades. The fear of judgment weakens. The temptation to quit loses its grip. Because when your habits are rooted in purpose, discipline, and gratitude, your sense of direction becomes unshakable. You may still face uncertainty, but you no longer fear it. You understand that uncertainty is not your enemy. It's the space where growth happens. There is a certain beauty in this stage of life. You stop living from reactors and begin living from creation. You no longer waste energy trying to control outcomes. Instead, you invest energy in controlling your inputs, your thoughts, your actions, your focus. And soon, the outcomes begin to take care of themselves. You realize that your role is not to manipulate results, but to master yourself. And as self-mastery deepens, your presence changes. You begin to exude a kind of calm confidence that others can feel. You don't need to rush to prove your worth because you know you are already valuable. You don't seek external validation because your validation comes from within. You don't compete because you understand that no one else can walk your path. You become grounded, centered, and unbothered by noise. And ironically, it is this very calmness that begins to attract the greatest opportunities. Life seems to favor those who are not desperate for it. The more peaceful your heart, the more power you possess. Because peace brings clarity, and clarity directs power. The person who is calm can think. The person who can think can decide. And the person who can decide can change his entire world. This is why your habits matter so much. They protect your peace. They give structure to your energy and direction to your life. Over time, you'll realize that the reward of these habits is not just success, it's freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from doubt, freedom from the chaos of uncertainty. You become independent, not just financially or socially, but mentally and spiritually. You are no longer at the mercy of moods or circumstances. You operate from principle, not from impulse. That is the mark of a truly transformed life. As the days unfold, you'll find joy not in the destination, but in the process itself. You'll begin to appreciate the mornings you rise before the world awakens, the quiet hours you invest in growth, the challenges that once intimidated you but now strengthen you. You'll realize that transformation is not something you arrive at, it's something you practice daily. And in that realization, life takes on a new richness, a depth that words can barely describe. For you have discovered the quiet truth. Greatness is built in silence, one habit at a time. And though the world may not see the work you're doing today, it will soon feel the results of it tomorrow, because no effort made in alignment with purpose, discipline, and gratitude is ever wasted. Every thought, every step, every reflection is a seed, and when the time is right, those seeds will bloom into a life beyond anything you once believed possible. And as the roots of these habits grow deeper within you, life begins to unfold in ways you once thought unimaginable. You start to sense an invisible order behind the events that shape your days. Moments that once appeared random now reveal purpose. The detours you once resented begin to make sense. You begin to understand that everything is connected, that every effort, every delay, every test was part of the process of making you ready. Readiness, after all, is what success truly is. It's not about waiting for the perfect opportunity, but becoming the kind of person who recognizes and responds to opportunity when it appears. Your habits make you ready. Your mindset makes you worthy. Your discipline makes you capable. And your gratitude makes you wise enough to handle what life gives you. Most people wait for life to hand them something they have not yet earned through their habits. But life does not reward hope. It rewards harmony with its laws. You cannot plant carelessness and harvest excellence. You cannot live in confusion and expect clarity. You cannot think small and attract greatness. The universe mirrors your consistency. It reflects your inner state back to you. This is why the smallest habits matter. They may not seem significant in the moment, but over time, they carve the path of your destiny. The way you speak to yourself in the morning, the way you handle small responsibilities, the way you treat people when no one is watching. These are the invisible details that shape the visible outcomes. Every time you choose focus over distraction, gratitude over complaint, discipline over delay, you cast a vote for the future you desire. And as those votes accumulate, they create momentum. Momentum that can carry you farther than raw talent ever could. You'll notice that as momentum builds, life begins to flow with less resistance. Not because the challenges disappear, but because your strength has increased. The same mountain that once intimidated you now feels like part of the journey. The same rejection that once broke your spirit now sharpens your resolve. You begin to live from the inside out, not the outside in. Your sense of power no longer depends on external validation or temporary comfort. It comes from within. And when your power comes from within, it becomes unshakable. No criticism can steal it, no setback can destroy it, and no praise can inflate it. You realize that real growth is not about adding more, but about removing what no longer serves you. You stop chasing distractions disguised as desires. You stop seeking shortcuts that promise ease but deliver emptiness. Instead, you choose the path of mastery, the long, steady path that demands patience, persistence, and presence. That is where transformation truly happens, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, in the decisions that seem small but define everything, in the conversations you have with yourself before you act. That's where strength is born. The world may see your achievements later, but they are only the outer expression of an inner revolution that began long before. The visible success is simply the shadow of invisible discipline, And as this discipline strengthens, it brings clarity. You begin to see that success is not a single event, but a series of choices aligned with your highest values. Every morning, you are presented with the opportunity to choose progress or comfort. Most choose comfort because it feels safe. But you, guided by your habits, choose progress. You understand that comfort offers relief today, but growth offers freedom tomorrow. Every time you push beyond ease, you expand your capacity for life itself. Your standards rise. You no longer tolerate what diminishes your focus or drains your energy. You begin to simplify your environment, your relationships, your thoughts. You start to realize that peace is not found in having more, but in needing less. The more intentional you become, the lighter you feel. You move with quiet assurance, knowing that every decision is leading you toward something meaningful. The noise of the world may still surround you, but it no longer enters you. You have built an inner sanctuary that cannot be disturbed. And in that sanctuary, your creativity begins to awaken. You start thinking in new ways. Fresh ideas emerge without struggle. Solutions that once felt out of reach now reveal themselves naturally. Because when your mind is no longer cluttered with fear or distraction, it becomes a channel for clarity. You begin to experience what many call intuition, a calm knowing that guides you toward the right actions at the right time. This is not luck. It's the result of alignment between thought, discipline, and gratitude. When your inner and outer worlds match, decisions become effortless. You stop forcing outcomes and start flowing with them. You begin to understand that success is not a chase, it's a synchronization. When you think rightly, act decisively, and reflect gratefully, life begins to meet you halfway. The doors you once knocked on begin to open. The people you need appear. The timing starts to work in your favor. It feels miraculous, but it's simply the natural result of harmony. You become more observant. You start to notice patterns, not just in your own life, but in others. You see why some rise and others stagnate. You recognize that success leaves clues, and those clues always lead back to habits. Those who thrive are not necessarily the most gifted, but the most consistent. They do what others will not, long after the excitement has faded. And in that consistency lies their advantage. There's a quiet truth you begin to understand. The future belongs to those who can delay gratification, those who can sacrifice temporary pleasure for lasting fulfillment. Every moment you choose discipline over distraction, you are shaping a future version of yourself that will thank you. Because while others spend their days seeking comfort, you spend yours seeking growth. And growth, though it often begins in discomfort, ends in freedom. Freedom from fear, from comparison, from limitation. You no longer envy anyone else's path, because you have learned to love your own. You realize that the true competition was never with others. It was always between your current self and your potential self. And each day you live by these habits, you narrow that gap. The person you are becoming starts to merge with the person you've always wanted to be. This alignment gives birth to something even greater than success. It gives birth to fulfillment. You start to experience joy, not because everything is perfect, but because everything is purposeful. Even the challenges carry meaning. Even the delays carry wisdom. You see life as a teacher, not an enemy. You understand that every season serves a function, and you meet each one with grace. Your energy changes. You no longer rush through your days. You move through them deliberately. You listen more, speak less, and think deeply. You find beauty in simple things. The morning light, the sound of silence, the satisfaction of work well done. These moments, once overlooked, now fill you with quiet joy. Because you've learned that success is not about reaching the peak, it's about finding peace in the climb. As your habits strengthen, so does your influence. You become an example without trying to be one. Your discipline inspires others. Your gratitude reminds them of what truly matters. Your calm presence gives others hope that they too can rise above chaos. Without preaching, without forcing, you lead by example. Because the greatest influence in this world comes not from noise, but from embodiment. And as you continue this journey, you begin to feel an even deeper truth stirring within you. The realization that there is no finish line, that growth never ends, that becoming is the purpose of being. You stop striving for arrival and start embracing evolution. You understand that each stage of life brings new lessons, new levels of awareness, new opportunities to refine your character. You no longer resist change because you know that change is the very mechanism through which life expresses its perfection. So you continue to build your days like a craftsman, carefully, intentionally, beautifully. You rise with purpose, you move with discipline, and you rest in gratitude. You understand that the habits that once required effort have now become your nature. What once felt like work now feels like peace. And though the world may still measure success in numbers and recognition, you measure it in mastery, of thought, of action, of self. For that is the quiet transformation these habits bring. They do not just change what you do, they change who you are. And when you have changed who you are, you have already changed everything else.